Hello, my name is Mike Davis. This is my final project presentation for CJC 210. The topic I'm speaking to today is racial discrimination within the American criminal justice system. It's fair to say that throughout its history, the American criminal justice system has faced a lot of backlash from social advocates and minority groups calling for reform of what is perceived to be racial discrimination within the system. There have been a variety of studies from various fields such as criminology, psychology, and law that also support correlations between race and things like wrongful accusations and extra lengthy sentences when compared to white defendants for the same crimes. One particular study I note in the PowerPoint has numbers like for blacks and Hispanic defendants, they face respectively a 24 and a 23% more likelihood of getting prison sentences for the same crimes when compared to white defendants. There's also direct correlations between race and wrongful convictions. And again, this stereotyping, which is at the root of this, manifests in various places throughout the criminal justice system. Police are often accused of excessive force, quite more often against minorities. The courts, prosecutors, they tend to have very irregular sentencing when you look at what is handed out for minority races versus for white defendants. For example, there's an extensive study by the National Registry of Exonerations that has some quite eye-opening statistics as well about the disparity in the numbers between whites and minorities. Um, and again, stereotyping seems to be the primary manifestation of this racial disparity. There's a certainly strong correlation on the outcomes of the court cases. The sentences tend to be much harsher that are handed down against the minorities, especially again blacks primarily, seem to get much harsher sentences for the same crimes as whites. Another way the stereotyping manifests is in sexual assault misidentifications. Again, stereotyping seems to be such that blacks are much more often misidentified when it comes to cases of sexual assault. Um, so, with exonerations, there seems to be, there is documented that blacks take a lot longer to get exonerated. Even once they're accused, the average exoneration time for blacks is 14 years, whereas for whites it's something around 11.2 years. So obviously, a much longer, time to get exonerated even when they are wrongly accused. Certainly harsher sentences, as I mentioned earlier. When you talk about things like life sentences, 28% of blacks were facing life sentences at the completion of their cases as opposed to 17% of whites. And certainly just the average penalties, the long penalties for blacks average around 29 years versus 19 years for white defendants. Again, a very stark racial disparity in the numbers. So then you talk about, back again to police, one of the places where it primarily manifests again. The numbers show that stereotyping manifests such that blacks and Latinos, there is this stereotype belief that they commit more crimes, and it seems to go directly with the interaction numbers that we get about police and harassment accusations. So again, certainly much higher numbers with regards to the minorities and negative, let's say, police interactions. So again, this is not a new topic, as I said before. There are a lot of studies with recommendations about how to address this. Most of them tend to be along the lines of increasing the racial diversity within policing. A lot call for much more community involvement to try to alleviate some of the tension that is within the system. I think these are good places to start, certainly. But again, I think it's fair to say that there's no denying there is racial disparity within the system. We tend to, I put it down to almost a sort of the boy who cried wolf in some ways. Myself, I think guilty of this as well, where you hear a lot about it in the news and eventually it tends to not get your attention as much. But that's where, again, the reason I decided to pick this topic after looking at the numbers in chapter 11, again, that's sort of refocused it for me, and that's why I decided to go ahead and do some more research and present this topic. Thank you very much.